it can be held unconstitutional because it's too vague. Likewise, the overbreadth doctrine, which is obviously related. I say the word obviously way too much. I'm going to cut that down. On the overbreadth doctrine, you may have a law that is specific enough that the people know what is prohibited, but that the law impacts areas which are constitutionally protected. If that's the case, then a challenge to that law can be upheld, and that law can be held unconstitutional for being overbroad. The text does a pretty good job of explaining, what those concepts are. Lists some good examples of cases. I'm a big fan of cases. I think cases are a lot of them make for pretty good reading. I know that sounds a little twisted, but it's where that's where the law lives today. So I encourage you to at least check out the examples, because it's constantly changing. Finally, we'll move on and talk a little bit about equal protection under the laws. The seminal case, of course, being Loving versus Virginia, which is in your text on page 22. I expect you to know that case for testing purposes. Hint, hint, hint. A little bit about classification of crimes. We'll be throwing around the terms felony and misdemeanor quite a bit. Those of you who've got a lot of experience, or at least some experience with criminal law at your duty station or your job, this is not new. Misdemeanors typically are crimes which are punishable with imprisonment for up to 1 year, and felonies tend to be those crimes which are punishable with imprisonment more than 1 year. I say tends because it can vary from state to state. We have 51, 52, perhaps 53 different jurisdictions, all the 50 states. We've got the U.S. territories, we've got Washington, D.C., and we've got the federal jurisdiction. So felonies and misdemeanors I use fairly, not too loosely, but it's tends to be the minor crimes. They're misdemeanors, and they're held. They're taken care of by a lower court system here in the state of Rhode Island, as well as in Massachusetts. It's the district court level, and then felonies, which are handled by the superior courts, which is a higher level court. Sources of criminal law. Okay. You've got a pretty decent outline here in your book, starting on page 22. There being statutory as well as common law. Take a step back. In general, you've got those two types of law. You've got statutory law, which is the quote-unquote black letter law that's written by the lawmakers, legislature, and the like. And then you have the common law, which is the law that is produced by a court making a decision. So when you have a concept, let's say premeditated murder, the concept of premeditation has been explored and decided on by the courts. So premeditated homicide is black letter law, that is statutory law. However, the concept of premeditation has been discussed and decided by the court system. So we could consider that part of the common law. Your text also talks about administrative law. I feel is important enough to talk about administrative law because that is probably one of the areas that has exploded with basically criminal, prohibitions and regulations in the past 100 years. You can see right there in the book. It makes the case for it right there. It's absolutely true. The bureaucracy of the United States government, the agencies have produced a phenomenal amount of law on their very own, and obviously to a certain extent they are well within their rights to do so, even to go so far as to punish people criminally. A somewhat controversial area, obviously. Do we want bureaucrats issuing laws and regulations that can, punish private citizens criminally? Debatable. I have trouble with it to the extent that you can have administrative bodies that can circumvent the system of Congress, but I do also believe that it produces some sense of efficiency, whereas if we had to have every single criminal statute and regulation go through Congress, you can imagine how long that would take. On page 24, you've got important documents of the English-speaking world, the Magna Carta. All right. The Magna Carta is extremely important, but, why they don't focus on the Constitution, basically splattering it all over Chapter 1, I have got no idea. That's how I would have written it. But now I want to go into, mention some other key concepts that I want you to know. Starting with habeas corpus. It's a concept which you need to know. I want you to take it with you. The difference between the civil wrong and the criminal wrong. I'm not going to get any more deeper into that. If you don't know that, you're going to have trouble with both criminal law and civil law, but let's see. Have we covered everything? Pretty much. Okay. I'm going to make some final notes because as we get farther and farther along in the book, the discussion board, needs to remain civil. As legal professionals, all of us, we've got to make sure that the level of professionalism is maintained, and I don't mean just in the discussion board, but this is something that I want you to take away in your jobs. Criminal law can be an extremely disturbing place. You've got people who've done extremely bad things. You have victims who are hurt sometimes beyond measure, and it is extremely difficult to remain dispassionate. However, as difficult as it is, it's also that important to remain dispassionate. I'm not saying don't feel anything about a victim of a crime or feel very strong feelings about a particular defendant. But when it comes to analyzing and doing your job, wherever that may be, I sincerely hope and emphasize that sticking to the law and to the concepts, that we've described under the Constitution, we need to adhere to those regardless of how we feel. You don't, you can't always check the emotions at the door. I do expect you to do that for the discussion board. We're going to be talking about some issues and examples that are controversial and can be taken, that are somewhat volatile. That's what criminal law is. But when we're discussing those cases or examples, we have to maintain the professionalism that so we can be very respectful of each other and what it is that we've said, because the most important thing is for everybody to understand the concepts. You're going back, you're going back to your duty station or to your job in the civilian world, and you need to help assist or analyze cases from either the prosecution or defense. And if you get too emotionally involved, it is going to be very difficult. I can tell you that. So anyway, I'll leave that as sort of a practical matter. It's something I'll come back to because, as paralegals and as legal professionals in general, and we all do this, is interviewing witnesses, interviewing defendants, interviewing victims. Emotions are always going to be a part of the job because everybody else is going to be bringing them. So it's important for us to be able to cull through the emotions to get through what it is really important. With whatever side you're trying to work, you've got to be able to cull through the emotions and get to the facts. The facts are the most important thing. Okay, with that, I am going to double check and make sure that I've covered everything. I believe I have. Ask all the questions you want. Send me all the emails you want. And those of you who haven't posted on the discussion board yet, get on the stick, and I'll talk to you soon. Yeah, P.S. Don't forget, go online, find a report for a failure to act crime, and then also find the statute for that type of crime or that crime in your state. The report and the statute don't have to come from the same place. The important thing is that the report is about a crime that is a crime of omission, and that you find the statute from your home state to see how it might stack up. All right, that's it for me. I'm going to go have a bit of Labor Day barbecue and talk to you guys real soon. Be safe out there. See ya.